And tonight, looks like there's half dozen people so far. Wide open. If there's anything that you want to discuss or talk about tonight for our session tonight. I know we last week we talked about corporations and setting up corporations. A couple of you reached out to Adnan. That's great. Obviously, if you're working with somebody, that's awesome too. Use who you want to use to set that up. Just or get your questions answered at least. I think is the most important thing of when or where or how we set up those corporations to protect ourselves and get some tax relief. Some stuff going on with the markets and real estate is definitely going to be affected. How it's going to be affected, I'm not too sure. Any questions on that? They did drop. The Bank of Canada dropped their rate by half point. So we should see some banks shifting to lower interest rates for mortgages. We might see a bump in refinancing happening in Canada. It's exploded in the U.S. A lot of refinancing going on because of the drop in rates. So that might show us that lenders are going to be more open to lending at better rates, but not only that, more aggressive in even issuing credit to us at a lower rate. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Could you go over how a sandwich lease option, please? I've read about it a bit, but was wondering if you could explain it. Sure, we could talk about that tonight. Any other questions? We could focus on that tonight as an example of that. Okay, so sandwich lease option. So we have a property here, and we have so we have an individual that owns this property. So this is the landlord. Okay, so landlord. Okay, let's just do this. Let's go. Landlord's going to be LL. Okay. Okay, so the landlord has this property and they're renting it out. Now, it doesn't have to be a landlord. It could be somebody who owns a house and is just moving. But let's just say it's a landlord to keep it simple. Okay, so a landlord has a property. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath that they want to rent out, but they become a tired landlord. Right? They're tired landlord, right? They don't want to deal with it anymore. They'd rather someone else, either sell the property or someone else take it over. It's just too challenging. They don't have the time. Could be 100 different reasons, but they're a tired landlord. And then we have you. Okay, so you're here. This is you, and you say to this landlord, you say, "Hey, I have this program called a Perfect Tenant Program." And they say, "Well, what's that?" What it is we put people in your property that want to be owners at some point. Just can't be owners right away. But what we do for you is we take care of all your bills. There's no more expenses to your property, and we'll make an agreement, a lease option agreement. So lease option agreement, and what we'll do is we'll purchase your house over the next 3 years over an agreed price. So let's say the agreed price is 300,000. Okay, and we'll pay you $1 for the option contract. Okay, so the option contract. Okay, so for them, the advantages for the tenant, landlord, tired landlord, is they don't have to worry about their bills anymore. They're not concerned with their bills anymore. You're taking care of it. It's your responsibility, and they've agreed on a price for the next 3 years. So the next 3 years, the property will be sold at any point in time for 300K. Okay, so no more problems for them. They're happy they don't have to pay any more bills, and at some point, they hope to be able to sell the property. They don't have to deal with it is the biggest thing. They don't have to deal with tenants anymore. And then we have the tenant buyer. Okay, so the tenant buyer, right, is here. Okay, and the tenant buyers, right, want to rent to own. So they want to be rent to own, right? And what we do is we do a lease option agreement. Okay, so the lease option agreement. And as the lease option agreement is basically the same as you've seen or learned before. The lease option agreement has a purchase price, so year by year. So year one it might be 315. Year two it might be 330. 30, 350, year 1, year 2, year 3, and they put a non-refundable, shouldn't have done it that big, but non-refundable option consideration. Okay, so non-refundable option consideration of say 9K. Okay, now that's for the lease option agreement. We paid $1 for ours, right? So here, we paid $1 for our option agreement. They're paying us 9K. Okay, so what happens is there's two lease agreements. There's a lease option agreement with the owner, with us, and then there's a lease option agreement with the tenant buyer and us, right? And the reason it's called a sandwich lease option, obviously, is because you're in the middle, right? That's you in the middle between these two parties, right? The tenant buyer and the landlord, right? The person who actually owns the property. That's why it's called a sandwich lease option. So when they're ready to exercise the lease option, there's a couple things you could do. You could assign, the property could be just assigned to them. Typically, you could do, or another way simple is a double close. So you buy this house the same day that you buy this house, you sell the house, right? To these people for whatever price there is for that property. So the concept behind a lease option is really finding people that they don't necessarily need to sell right away, but they just don't want to deal with the property anymore. So remember, we were calling for rents. If you came across a tired landlord, you could technically or typically, you could offer the opportunity of maybe you could. Sorry, give me 1 second. Wow. Okay. So, sorry, just got a headline that says Trump suspended travel from Europe for 30 days as part of response to foreign coronavirus. Wow. I don't know what the details of that story are. Yeah, it's real. It's real. Wow. That's crazy. But I guess that's the way it is. Wow. Italy is, yeah. Oh, that's CNBC. CNBC. That was a headline from CNBC. Anyways, sorry to throw that at you. Obviously, the effect is real around the world. Some of you, I hope, and no one has been exposed to it. It could be pretty serious, but for the most part, Canada and the U.S. are handling it. I think we might see some more of that. It'll be interesting to see what this does to the whole overall market. To tell you the truth, it's hard to say. Yeah, yeah, I guess. I mean, that's totally possible, right? I mean, there's gonna be some real cheap tickets for sure. They've been affected in a severe way. Um, we're gonna see. I expect that the Canadian market's gonna, react similar to the U.S. market. I don't know to what extent or how they're gonna do it, but I think that there's going to be some serious challenges possibly facing both countries, the United States and Canada. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and what happens. The real estate market, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the real estate market. Before we get into all that, Diana, you were the one who asked, right, about sandwich lease option? Or anybody, if you have any questions about the example I just shared. No, sorry. Who was it? It was Diana, wasn't it? No? Or was it? Give me 1 second. No? I'm sorry. Who asked about sandwich lease options? Sorry. Oh, Devin did. Oh, I'm sorry. Devin, okay. My bad. So any questions about what I was explaining, Devin? Do you understand what we're talking about here? So I want to remind everybody, it's the most important piece, I would say, what's the dollar for? The dollar is for the lease option agreement, the option agreement. So we only pay $1 for the option agreement. They paid $9K for the non-refundable option agreement. Is there any risk that we should be aware of? Well, I mean, you remember there's a lease agreement and option agreement. So the lease agreement, is the rental agreement, right? The option agreement is so they can buy the house. Now, could they leave early? Sure, they could. But of course, if they leave early, remember they lose their 9K, right? They lose this money, this $9,000, right? You could. There's a lot of incentive for the tenant buyer to treat the property right, to do everything right. Obviously, the other consideration here, I just simplified it there, is you'd have to make sure, right, that the rents, right? So if the expenses to the tenant, the landlord, the current property is say, $1,500 is the expenses. You would want to charge, rent over here, say $1,700, or $1,600. So there's a little bit of cash flow, right? Not much, but $100 cash flow. But you got to remember, you didn't have to buy the house, right? You didn't have to get a mortgage. You didn't have to do any of that stuff. So all of that is set up so there's a little bit of money, a little bit of cash flow, and this could be, this doesn't have to be 17 if the market, maybe it's 16. Who knows? You're making a little. Don't think of the money you're going to make off the cash flow. Maybe $100, but it's still $100 positive cash flow. It's more the money you're going to make when you double close at 300. You say sell it for 350. That's the money you're going to make when you double close, right? Minus expenses. So risk-wise, you're still dealing with the same kind of risk for, if the contracts are done right and everybody's in agreement, then, the risks are the same risks you would have with a rent-to-own. That they would be the same risks. You'd still have to get these things like the 9K for the non-refundable. You'd still have to have all these contracts in place. That's why legal. You'd want to make sure that you're doing this legally and that you're covered on both ends. And you're hoping that everybody, you're setting this structure so everybody gets what they want. The seller gets what they want. The person who owns the house, they get what they want. The tenant buyer gets what they want, and you get what you want, right? And you get paid because what you're doing is you're solving a problem for both parties. You're solving a problem for the tired landlord, and you're solving a problem for the tenant buyer. So, both these scenarios help to alleviate someone's problem. And remember, we get paid for solving problems. That's how we make money in this business. We get paid for solving problems and sharing the wealth, and that's what makes this work. Anybody else? Any questions? Here, I'm just gonna move this down. Okay, so okay, is there any risk? Okay, so the risk, Devin, is pretty much the same you would have with a lease option. One could argue even less risk, right? Because if they don't buy the house, you're not stuck with the house. You don't have to buy the tired landlord's house. You don't have to buy it. So you're not stuck with the house if they don't decide to buy. You can just give them back the house. That's totally possible. If you wanted to, if the expenses were $1,550, you could maybe $1,500. You could maybe give him $50 of cash flow, and you keep $100 or $150 of cash flow. There's lots of ways you can do this. There's lots of ways. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, so what kind of speculation do you have in the real estate market? Since historically, if stock market down, more people will shift to invest to real estate. Yes, that's possible that the money will shift to real estate. I don't know. A lot of times both of them go down. I don't think that's going to happen with real estate. I think the stock market's really going to, because this is not really being created by a financial crisis like in 08. It's more this coronavirus. So this is something that financially is going to impact a lot of companies. We might see people, being asked, like in the U.S., they're talking about people just staying at home, working from home when they can. They're talking about payroll tax deductions where they're not going to, there's no tax for the employee and the employer. They're doing a lot of things that are going to put a lot of money in the market. The question becomes where they spend it. So I would imagine that we should, the real estate market. You got to remember, if people are not going to be wanting to go out, I don't think real estate, because it's not going to be in large groups or anything. People are still going to buy real estate. I think what we might see is you know uh, the market itself actually go up a little bit, or possibly hold, and then when this gets passed, the market it could shoot up because there's a lot of money sloshing around in the market. Mortgage rates are going to be down, so that's going to help with the market itself. So I'm guessing, of course, nobody can say 100%, but I would say that real estate is probably going to do okay through this crisis. Now, if we get into a serious position where companies are laying people off, people are losing their jobs, we might see a increase of foreclosures or pre-foreclosures in the marketplace. It'll be hard to say. So it's tough to say exactly how this is going to pan out for real estate. It looks like real estate's going to be insulated because of the drop in interest rates and whatever companies are going to do to ensure that people still have jobs and there's still money moving around. So it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be exciting time for investing, not so much for, the regular person dealing with this, but there should be some opportunities for real estate, I think, in the coming 12 to 24 months because of this disruption. Okay, let's see. If the LL has a mortgage on the property, is it safe to do a lease option? Yeah, Devin, you can add something that says that they can't encumber the property with any more debt on it if it's high. This is all done legally and above board, transparent. You tell them we can't have you exceeding, say, 80%. If it's 80%, I mean it's not a huge deal. If it's under 80%, 80 or lower, because that's a 20% drop in the market in a 3-year time, which is possible. You can't stop it if it happens, but it's unlikely. But you could put something that they can't encumber the property with further debt during the 3-year period. You could do that, sure. Anything's pretty much possible as long as it's legal to do that. On the deal, as long as both parties agree. So there are 3 avenues for making money. 1 and 2. Closing twice. 3, non-refundable option consideration. That's right. So the non-refundable option consideration, we're going to give that money back, right? But if they leave, that the non-refundable, we keep it. We don't want to keep it. We want it. We want them to get the property. But it gives you the 9K up front. It gives you the 9K. That's your money. It just has to be, taken off the price or brought back to them when they buy the property. So you're right. You got cash flow month to month. You got the 9K at the beginning, and then you got whatever capital gains you gained from the sale of the property. So you're right. There's 3 ways, like with a regular lease option, you would be able to do this. This allows you to do a lease option basically with none of your own money. Right? You're not using any money at all. It's none of your money or very little money to market. But really, I think that the thing that you want to do is you want to get people. You want the tenant buyers first, right? You want the tenant buyers is really where the value is. The tenant buyers are the ones that are gonna really drive your business when you're doing lease options. Sam, can I talk about the free renovation deal? Yeah, sure you can. Absolutely. Okay, any other questions on this before we do that? I feel like I know a potential tenant buyer, but how would you sell them on the concept? Well, it's really they have to be somebody who wants to be an owner. It's not much sales. That you're helping them. You're creating a plan so they can buy the house, right? So, you shouldn't have to really sell them too hard on it. You're selling them. Look, I can help you become an owner, right? If there's a house, if you want to own a house, I'll buy the house. You guys will rent it from me, but I'm only buying it because you're going to buy it from me. So you'll rent it out, and when the time comes, say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you buy the house. But that allows them to buy the house that they want now. By renting to own it. Does that make sense, Dina? it shouldn't be a hard sell. I mean, they're the ones who want to own, right? If they don't want to be owners, then it's, I mean, yeah, I guess you'd have to be, you'd have to do some persuading if they, you're trying to take them from renters to owners. But if they're people that want to become owners, it's not really, it's not really that big of a, a stretch to show them. You're really providing a solution for what they want. If they say no, they say no. I mean, but you tell them, if yeah, if I can help you out, this is what I would do for you. You'd find the house, I'd buy it, and then you'd rent it from me until you decide to buy it. You know, why wouldn't they just rent for 3 years and save and buy themselves better business case? What do you mean? Why wouldn't they just rent for 3 years and save and buy a business case, best business case, better business case? Okay, so regular rent without me helping them. Okay, so couple things, right? So if they're renting anyways, them renting from you, renting somebody else, that's no difference. You see that, right? There's no difference, right? Okay, so the difference for these individuals is you got to understand they want to be owners now. That's the big thing. They want to be owners now. So and for them to go find a property that they want now, and be able to be on the path of ownership, wouldn't that be better than renting somewhere else and hoping you can buy that property, or it'll even be for sale 3 years from now, right? Or in the area, or you don't know what the market's going to be. It could be up, it could be down, it could be sideways. I mean, it's really, again, folks, these are people that want to be owners. You're providing a solution. You don't have to persuade these people. You're not doing anything that wouldn't happen anyways. You're just making sure that it happens for them, right? So, when you're looking at a house that you want, you could gamble and say, I'll wait 3 years and I'll rent where I'm renting and then buy later. You could gamble that. They could do that. But if they're serious about moving, and usually there's a motivation, right, to be an owner, a lot of different motivations, you're just providing that solution. I guess we use the fluctuations in mortgage rules as a selling point. You don't really have to do that either. You can, but you don't really. Again, right? You got to remember these are people that want to be owners, right? Everybody understand that? These are people who want to be owners. These aren't people you got to convince to be owners. They want to be owners, but they can't because of their credit. So you're providing a solution for these people. You're not trying to persuade them of anything. You're saying if you want my help, this is what I would do for you. You want to be an owner now. You can't own because of your credit. I know it's going to take a couple of years, but I can structure a plan that allow you to buy the house. Get the house you want now, rent it for a few years, and own it. In the span of 1 to 3 years. I think ownership is a dream for some people. I guess the sell would be making it a reality. New immigrants. Yeah, for sure. That would be the situation. So again, these are people like, just as an example. I'm not telling you to do this if you're not ready to do it, but if you're in question of what kind of activity you could get, you could put an ad out for rent to own, but I wouldn't, I don't like the idea of putting out an ad that you're not going to help these people with. Um, but you could create an ad and see what kind of response you get. But really, you're saying, hey, look, if you want to rent to own, if you want to be an owner, and if you want to rent to own a house, I can help you. And whoever comes, right? If people are open to the idea, they're open to the idea. You don't need to persuade someone who's happy renting and doesn't ever want to own, or doesn't want to own now. Hey, why don't you go own a house? That's different. But if it's someone who wants to be an owner, you imagine that if you go, if somebody goes out and tries to get a house and finds out they can't get it, they have the down payment, they have the income, but they don't have the credit. They want to be an owner, and they go see a realtor and they go see a mortgage broker and find out they can't. You providing a solution for them is something that I mean, somebody who wants to be an owner would consider, right? There's not really a huge. I don't see the downside for the tenant buyer. I guess I don't see what the problem is for the tenant buyer. The tenant buyer is going to get ahead. Um, working with you. You know, I don't see the disadvantage for the tenant buyer myself. I don't see the disadvantage for the tenant buyer. They get what they want now instead of waiting. That's that's what I mean. Okay, we have about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, so I wanted to get Diana to share her things she wanted to share with us. Okay, can we do that? Is that okay, everybody? We're good? Questions on this? We're good? Okay, good. All right. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so Diana, you want to share about yours. Let me see if I can get you. I see you in there twice, Diana. Diana 1 and Diana 2. Which one are you talking with? Diana 2 or Diana 1? Diana, right? You're talking with Diana 1? Diana? All right, let me see. Okay, so let me try this. Oops. Okay, let me do this, and let me do. Should be able to enable. Give me 1 second. Okay, can you try your mic? Is your mic on?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yeah, we can hear you. Okay, I have to mute mine so it doesn't. We don't get the back. Okay, but I'm gonna get Diana the phone. Diana, you ready to go?
Hello? Oh, okay, hold on. Let me just make
Diana,
it
you there?
louder for me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Am I able to
Yeah,
share my
we can hear you.
screen? Can I share my screen? Or am I sharing? I don't know.
Let me see if you can do that. Hold on 1 sec. Um, I'd have to request the screen sharing. We could try that. Let's try that.
Or do you want, should I give you the link and you can just open it on yours?
Yeah, I could do that. Sure. I mean, okay, there's the link. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, folks, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I'm going to share my screen, and you're going to be able to see this. And Diana, you're going to continue to explain this. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
Um,
So,
oh, I don't see, sorry, I don't see anything yet.
yeah, hold on 1 sec.
Okay.
Now, do you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
so for this one, sorry, were you saying something?
no. Go ahead. I'm going to shut up now. You just talk, all right? Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so for this one, um, I guess like really what I'm doing is like this page is for the customer, for people that own the house already and they want to sell their property. So these are for sellers. And it's just kind of, I guess, like because we're such in a hot market right now, it's kind of like taking out the middleman, and instead of doing a flip, we just kind of partner up with the seller. We renovate the house and then sell it. So what I guess I'm looking with here with all the guys, like whoever wants to be involved, is like basically, teaming up. So I mean, we have a renovation company, but we are kind of busy. So even if we have someone that does renovations, would be good. like we're trying to partner up with realtors so that, we can kind of spread out the word. I am advertising it. And even just people that are wholesaling, if you're wholesaling, because for example, we came up with an opportunity that this I found a lead, and 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 we haven't gone to see the property yet, but it looks like he may be interested also in this because of the profit margins, and just because he wants to sell at a specific price, and we couldn't seem to uh, like bring down the price that would make sense for a flip. And so now it's even for wholesalers, like if you can't seem to um, get them to sell at a low price that it would make sense to resell it again. Like this could also be an option, like we could work together. I can, if you just give me the lead, or if something comes from it, I can pay you for that lead. So this is just kind of like trying to, build a team of us to try to work together, even like money lenders. Like right now I have the money, but if it gets bigger, like it'd be good to have more money to be able to lend it out, right? Because what we're doing is that, like, my company specifically is like, I'm actually like I'm going to become or I am a lending company. And basically our company, I don't know if you go into the homepage, but basically our company is, for lending, is that we're trying to create deals to solve people's problems. So this specific one is related to the seller. Like if sellers want to get top dollar, then then they have like this option available to them, right? But then, like, another thing one of the problems that's happening right now is even realtors are saying that not even sellers, but for example, buyers are struggling to buy like beautiful houses that they like, right? Because the prices are so high, especially for like first time home buyers. And then so I'm going to talk to my broker, but we're going to see if we can make some kind of deal like this for also buyers, if somehow we can work something out with the mortgage. And that, if they go through the like this specific mortgage broker, that somehow we can make it that we bundle in the renovations with the mortgage. Basically, the purpose of this company, it's a lending company, and to solve like property problems, yeah. And like the first one we've come up with is that we're gonna try to help sellers that want to sell at top dollar, make the money that they want. Does
That
anyone
sounds
have any
great. I like it.
questions or interested in partnering up or anything, or have ideas?
I think it's great. I think that sounds great. I think that yeah, I think it's a great idea that you're thinking of solving problems, and you have some network built up already. I think that there's definitely an opportunity for partnerships, joint venture,
Mhm.
or even wholesale, like you said. That would be great. Is there already a finance? Is there already finance to add the reno extra money on top of the mortgage? Is there already a finance? You mean you mean? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So in that, what we're doing for that is that, no, so people do need to be qualified. So we do background checks and make sure, for example, like including our loan, we're not gonna really do anything more than 80% of the value. So these kind of people that we're looking at are people that have like lived in the houses for like 20, 30 years. And like, for example, one we're working on right now, these people have like zero loan, right? So we feel very safe loaning them the renovation money, because once they sell, like for sure we're getting our money, because ours is only going to be like 50, 60K, and the house is worth 600,000 with a zero loan, right? So we are checking, like we do checks and make sure, like our broker is checking to make sure that the numbers make sense, because we're not going to put ourselves into a situation that is like not good. So we're not doing houses that if it's like 100% loan, then there's nowhere for us to
Is the
work with that,
broker?
right?
Sounds like the broker is creative. You've worked with the broker a while.
Yeah, I worked, well, actually, I worked on one deal with him, and now we're working
Okay,
with this.
that sounds good. Who's interested in? Is anybody interested in getting more information about this idea that Diana's brought to us? Anybody interested? Hey, Jess, good. Nina, good. All right, good. There's some interest there for sure. So why don't we do this? How do you want to, Diana? How do you want people to reach out to you? Just do you want them to do that through email? Is that what you'd like to do? Start the conversation that way?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
we can
so hold on
do
one sec. Hold
email.
on one sec.
Um,
Hold on one
or you
sec.
can give
So this is what
me.
I'm gonna do, folks. I want to close the meeting up before we push out any emails or contact information because this is recorded. But before we wrap up, because it's a little bit past our time, but before we wrap up, any other questions before I close the meeting out and then Diana can share some of her information. She's out of Oakville, folks, just so you know. Okay, so if you're good, type in yes or Y. Good. All right. So I'm gonna close out the meeting. Hold on. Just let me stop the recording.